So I'm happy to be here, and this is a great event. I'm excited that it happens. So when presented with the task of what topic to choose to speak about, I pretty much took this literally, a symposium on maintaining happiness in a challenging career. So my title is I get by with a little help from my friends. So the earlier talks have gone into it a bit, and everyone kind of mentions that it's really people who are a vital part of maintaining happiness. But I'm going to go through my experience. So I have a couple of points that I'd like to get across, the big points here. One I just mentioned, so people, friends, family, mentors, spouses, partners, bosses, the people around you are really, really, really important to maintain a healthy life. They can make the joyful times so much more joyful, and they can carry you when you go through hard times. And also, it goes both ways. So some of the times that I've felt the most happy or been happy for someone else is when I could be there for someone else, and it's not just someone supporting me. And then the second point I want to remind, because I struggle with this myself, is that career is not life. It doesn't define me. Success is hard. It's a hard thing to figure out. What does success mean, right? So I think for everyone it's different, but be really careful about how you define it, because it can get it can take away happiness. So don't forget to do things you enjoy, and I'll talk more about that. Kind of to give a background, this is the only slide I have about my work, so I'd be happy to talk about it afterwards or elsewhere. But this is what I do at work. I study atmospheric entry. So when a vehicle goes from space to the ground, it needs a heat shield to protect it as it goes through the atmosphere, so it can safely reach the ground. And these are just some examples of vehicles that have used heat shields. So the branch I work in at NASA Ames is tasked with trying to experimentally simulate the environment that you might see on reentry. So again, I'm happy to talk about that more if you have any questions afterwards. So this is the path of how I got to working for Jacobs at NASA Ames. I was born and raised in Missouri. And then I went into undergrad at the University of Kansas, Rock Chalk. I did my bachelor's degree at Purdue. And then I did my PhD at Stanford, as mentioned, beat count. Right? No, it's actually So then my postdoc at Central in Paris, and then on to NASA Ames, where I am now. So I'll start off with my first point, that relationships are really important to maintain happiness. And I'll step through each of these stages in life. So this is my family. The speaker at my commencement for my PhD made a point that really stuck with me. He said, everything that you achieve, all the successes, all the goals that you make, it all comes because you're standing on the shoulders of people who came before you. So your achievements are theirs as well, and I found that to be true. So for me, my family is a big part of how I got here, and I keep that in mind in what I do. So my undergrad, University of Kansas, I was in aerospace engineering. I joined the aero design team. We built an RC airplane. I was in the student chapter of the American Astronautical Society. And actually this picture, I took classes outside of engineering as well. This is a professor who helped, I took an English class from her, and she really kind of taught me that there was more to life than just engineering, right? I learned to write and communicate a lot better. And this class was a later class I took with her, and we studied the history of London and actually took a trip to London. So I also learned how much I love to travel. So I really appreciate that particular professor. And then picture of graduation. So I got involved in a lot of groups. I had some really close friends that I still keep in touch with from my time at KU. So I moved on to Purdue. I had the chance to go to conferences with the group. My research was in rocket propulsion. I had a roommate who loved to cook, so she would always have lots of people over for dinner. So again, I was surrounded by people and friends. I started a yearly pumpkin carving tradition. So I had friends over who would carve pumpkins. Some of them got kind of engineering related, but it's fun just to do something a little bit more creative. And then Stanford. So this is my lab group. There were like 20 or so people. So you have lots of people around. You can talk about problems you're having in the lab, but you also have time to, this is a continuation of pumpkin carving, and do things outside the lab. So I made lots of friends that I still keep in touch with today. And so this was my time in Paris. This is my professor here that I work with in my postdoc, and he was pretty helpful. An example of how your boss can be in a support role. He not only did he help in terms of bouncing off ideas for research, but definitely helped my French. Like the language part, at the beginning he spoke mostly English and a little bit of French, and by the end of the time he was only speaking French to me. So kind of pushing me along there, right? And I played with the soccer team at the university, and just made again some really good friends. So I kind of toward the end of my time there, I had someone ask me, well, first of all, I had a hard time when I first moved away from the country. I was lonely. I didn't know anyone. I'm not like it's not easy for me to go talk to people and make friends like that, right? So it was hard. I missed the people that I had known before. Then when I left France, I had someone ask me, what are you gonna miss the most, right? And I think they were expecting like the food or the wine, right? Which was good, very, very good, yes. But for me, I realized it was the people again. It was the same thing. It was the friends that I'd made when I was there. So it kind of got me realizing how important it is this for me to have people around that can be this support and also to have fun with. So these are just my experiences, right? Like, who am I to say that this is, you really need people. Well, first of all, pretty much everyone who's spoken today has mentioned people are really important to maintaining happiness and well-balance. Second, almost every PhD thesis has an acknowledgement section that's about this long, right? So it takes a lot of people to support someone through a PhD. And any big task that you're trying to accomplish. I watched the astronaut selection announcement last year, and almost the very first thing that they said when they were announced was, thank you to all the people who helped us along the way. Your support has made this possible. So other people also realize that a support group of friends and family and mentors is important. Including really smart people. So Einstein, he had the Olympia Academy, a group of people that got together and talked about philosophy and thought experiments. Marie Curie, really close friends with Missy Melanie. People, even really smart people, realize that you need others in your life, not only for career, but for personal relationships. So, moving on to the second point, that career is not everything. So when I got this, the request to come speak, I actually asked some colleagues who are closer to the end of their career what it was that keeps them happy, what maintains their happiness in their engineering career. And I got one response that I thought was really pretty good. He said, do a little bit of something you enjoy every day. So have hobbies. Now being toward the retirement side, he maybe could do a little bit of something he enjoyed every day. Every day is a lot. So just, I think the reminder is just, don't forget to do things you like to do. So whether it's rowing or baking, woodworking, get something in there. And also, when you do the things that you enjoy, you meet people who also enjoy doing those things. And point number one, people are important. So that's a good thing. And then when you have friends who enjoy doing similar things, they'll keep you doing fun things. So these are some examples of the things that I've been able to do that I've enjoyed. I was on the intramural frisbee team. I played intramural basketball, skiing at Tahoe, the lab group, and friends, and biking and triathlon. The guy who sat next to me in the lab, one day was like, "Hey, I'm doing this triathlon. You want to try it?" And I was like, "I don't know about that. That sounds like a lot of work." But it really was fun, and it was more fun because he was there and I got to meet his friends. So just kind of the environment of being with people and doing something hard, I suppose. I got to go see a space shuttle launch. Actually, a few of them. So I have a group of friends who really love space, and they're like, "Hey, let's go watch a launch." So opportunities and reasons why it's good to have other people who enjoy doing similar things. Hiking, camping. Mentioned traveling. These are some friends who went to Istanbul. Taking photos. And again, your things that you enjoy are going to be different. So say jumping out of an airplane or fixing cars. It doesn't matter. Just do something you enjoy with people on a regular basis. And being silly. We actually, this was a cardboard boat contest that we won, but probably only because everybody else sank. Yeah, it was fun. So far I've talked about how people, kind of the aspect of having people around you as, making the joyful times more joyful. But there are also times when they can carry you through hard times. And I'll just give a couple examples of when that's happened for me. One was I actually failed my qualifying exams the first time I took them. So that was pretty miserable. But I learned a lot from it. One of the things was my friends were still there. My lab mates still took me out to dinner afterwards. I had a friend who came, we went skiing that weekend. He was like, talk through this, like figure out, cry it out, right? Like just being there for me. The other aspect of it that I also realized after I looked back, my professors told me, they said, look, we know you know this stuff, but you just didn't show it to us. Come back and take it again. So the second time around, I thought about how I'd studied the first time, and really I just shut myself off from people. I had my head in my book, and I was studying over Christmas break. I basically locked myself in the basement. I didn't even hang out with my family. I was reading and doing problems. But the second time around, I studied with people. And in that case, you have people who are saying, look, you know, you have a hole right here. Here, let's figure this out. Let's learn together. And they could point out my weaknesses, and it made it. I probably studied less time-wise the second time around, but learned the material way better, and I was able to pass the second time. So the second example I have is of kind of a difficult time. Is I pretty much wanted to be an astronaut since I was a little kid. I love the job I have now, and I'm perfectly happy to continue with that job. But there's this part of me that's like, that would really be cool, right? So last summer, NASA inducted a new class of astronaut candidates, and I actually had 2 friends who were in that class. And when I was watching the announcement, I was like, yeah! And then about 3 seconds later, I was like, wait a minute, what about me, right? I want to do that. So it was really exciting, and I'm super happy for these guys. But it was a hard road back to of disappointment, I guess, and frustration. So, well, yeah, comparisons. I struggle, right? I think many people do. But in the end, if you can avoid making comparisons to others, I think you can be a lot healthier and happier. So my people were there for me again. I had a friend who actually was there with me when I watched, and knows both of these people, and so he was able to talk me through and listen again. And then my sister that weekend took me here, and I love the mountains. I love being outside and hiking, and so it was great. And to this day, I appreciate her just kind of being like, let's get out, let's go do something. You know, this is what you love, right? Remember that? Like, don't get so caught up in this other thing. And kind of after months and months of talking to friends and family, my mom was helpful, and kind of talking me through and saying, okay, don't be so mopey about it, right? Like, do something. If this is important to you, actually do something about it. So again, my people were there, and in the end, looking back, what I realized was you have to be yourself. And I know that sounds really simple, but for me that helped. So the point is just, again, the support of friends and family really got me through kind of a rough time, a disappointing time. And then just to wrap it up, I would like to point out that maintaining relationships takes effort. This is me at 4 years old on the far right. And already close relationships were difficult for me. But over the last few years, I realized how important it really is to keep people in your life. So that's it. If I can take any questions.